So last night, we saw some pretty scary plays go down with the Bengals, while many around the league stared wide-eyed at their screens as Burrow got buried on more than one play. This was a bit of a head-scratcher, but so is the state of their defense. We also saw a quarterback battle decided today, a very unexpected potential outcome to the Micah Parsons situation, and more. So I'll break all that down as well as other NFL news right after. Alright, first up, there was a football game last night, which feels really good to say, even though, yeah, it was just a preseason game, but we did get to see the Bengals and Commanders starters go at it for at least a couple of drives. Joe Burrow was actually out there for the first 3 Bengals possessions, the first ending with a Chase Brown touchdown run. The second was a 3-and-out. Then they put together a 12-play drive and capped it off with a Burrow to Charlie Jones TD pass. And I will say, I get that the Bengals are trying to avoid another slow start this season, and that's why they're playing their starters so much during preseason, but holy smokes, can you guys at least protect Joe Burrow out there? This man got slung around like a rag doll on this play here, and then honestly, this one is on the O-line a bit, but also on Burrow. It's preseason, man. You gotta just go down or throw it away instead of letting 3 defensive linemen belly flop on you. I understand wanting to get ready for the season, but for a guy that's had multiple serious injuries in his career, you think they would be a bit more cautious with him in these exhibition games. And I'll just say this, that Bengals offense has to be red hot this year because that defense is looking a bit rough, and we don't even know if Trey Hendrickson is going to be a part of the team. Now, I'll flip sides and get to the Commanders offense here in a sec because there's some exciting takeaways there, but maybe the standout player of this entire game for either team was Bengals' third-year receiver Mitchell Tinsley. He was a big part of what was the most insane 3-play sequence I've seen in quite some time. Late in the second quarter with the ball in the red zone, quarterback Jake Browning threw one up to Tinsley in the end zone, and he made a nice contested grab for the touchdown. Impressive, right? Well then, on the Commanders' first play of their next drive, Sam Hartman threw a pick to the linebacker, giving Cincy the ball right back. So on the Bengals' next drive, the very first play, I might add, Jake Browning said 500 dead or alive, and Tinsley mossed this DB for his second touchdown in 3 plays. Pretty impressive, and what makes it even more special for Tinsley is that he was actually a Washington Commander to begin his NFL career. He signed as a UDFA in 2023, remaining with the team for a couple of seasons, but was waived after the 2024 season. The Bengals scooped him up, and he got to get his revenge on his former team last night. No idea if he makes the roster, but Joe Burrow hopes he does, which is what he said following the game. So, a cool moment for him, but for the Commanders, their opening drive couldn't have gone any better. They didn't even have to throw the ball. Instead, 3 run plays got them down to the 14-yard line, and Jaden Daniels took it from there, escaping the pocket and evading defenders, finding the end zone while simultaneously scaring the bejesus out of every Commanders fan, coach, and player, wondering why he refused to go down. But it worked out, and so might Washington's plan at running back. It came out yesterday that they are currently shopping Brian Robinson Jr., and both sides mutually agreed to have him sit out last night's game. So maybe a trade's coming, but there's also the option they could just straight up release him, which is what John Keim of ESPN said could happen if they aren't able to find a trade partner. Partially because his cap hit this year is $3.4 million, but dead money is less than $300,000, and I guess they need every bit of extra cap space they can get if they want to get a scary Terry extension done. Anyway, if Brian Robinson Jr. is out of the picture, the next man up would be Austin Eckler, but after that, Ja'Cory Croskey Merritt, or as he prefers to be called, Bill. Yes, that's real. He's a 7th-round rookie that fell in the draft after playing just 1 game in college last year due to eligibility issues. Well, he's impressed throughout training camp and is believed to be a big reason as to why the team is so comfortable in trading away Brian Robinson Jr. Last night, Bill flashed his potential once again, ripping off an impressive 27-yard touchdown in the first quarter. When it was all said and done, he finished with 46 yards on 11 carries and that 1 score. Chris Rodriguez is another guy in the mix for a big role if Robinson is indeed traded. And if they opt to keep just 3 running backs on their 53-man roster, I think it's going to be something like Eckler, Croskey Merritt, and Rodriguez. So that's an intriguing position battle to say the least, but one that we've really been keeping our eyes on is the quarterback competition between Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones with the Indianapolis Colts. Well, drumroll, and we don't need a drum roll, the decision has finally been made with the news breaking today that Daniel Jones is officially QB1 of the Colts. The news didn't come as a huge surprise. Let's be honest here. Richardson's struggles have been well documented. His accuracy or lack thereof is certainly an issue. He was the only quarterback with a sub 50% completion rate last year, but on top of that, the injury concerns have to factor into the decision as well. The shoulder injury that kept him out of most of his rookie year popped back up earlier this offseason, so that's got to give them at least a little bit of hesitation. Regardless of who their quarterback is, I'm not sure anyone is picking this team to make the playoffs. Let's be real here. Since coming into the league in 2019, Daniel Jones ranks 52nd in passer rating amongst quarterbacks that have started 10 or more games. The guy has only thrown for over 3,000 yards in a season twice in his career and only thrown more than 20 touchdowns once, and that was in his rookie year. So all that to say, my expectations for this team aren't super high, certainly not sky high, but who knows? Maybe let's just root for him here. Maybe Daniel Jones can have a career renaissance like Sam Darnold did last year. I think between Danny Dimes and AR, Danny has the higher, more consistent floor of the two, and I guess that's good enough for them to roll with him as QB1. If things get ugly, though, I think Shane Steichen's seat might start getting a little hot. He's going into his third season as their head coach with a .500 record and no playoff appearances, and the fate of his job may now rest in the hands of Daniel Jones, so best of luck to you. Now, unlike the Joe Flacco situation where the Browns just named him the starter for week 1, the Colts went ahead and named Daniel Jones the starter for the entire season. Steichen said he didn't want to have a quick leash on Jones and that he's confident in his abilities. Of course, that doesn't mean he can't change his mind at any point during the season, but at this point, it seems like it's a pretty firm decision and quite the pivot from Anthony Richardson, a guy they drafted 4th overall just 2 years ago. Next up, there's a couple of young receivers around the league that could miss some significant time due to injury. Bucs' second-year wideout Jalen McMilan suffered a bit of a scary injury in Tampa's preseason game against the Steelers last Saturday. He went up to make a catch, but came down awkwardly and landed on his neck. Well, today, Todd Bowles told the media that his neck is severely sprained, and the team actually put him on IR to start the season. He hasn't been ruled out for all of 2025 or anything like that, but there's some belief that he could be held out until after the Bucs' Week 9 bye week. That's really unfortunate for McMillan, who was hoping to build off a promising rookie campaign in which he hauled in 8 touchdowns. It's also concerning for the Bucs wide receiver room as a whole because Chris Godwin is still working back from that season-ending ankle injury last year, and the odds of him playing to start the season aren't looking great. He's currently on the PUP list, and there's a chance he could start the season there, which means he would miss at least the first 4 games. I feel like that's where things are headed because he hasn't been practicing at all, not even jogging off to the side with the trainer throughout camp or anything. So if that's the case, they'd then be without 2 of their top 4 wideouts for a good chunk of the season, with their other 2, of course, being Mike Evans and the newly added rookie, Emeka Egbuka. Evans is an ageless wonder, though he missed time with a hamstring injury last year, so health isn't guaranteed, especially at 32 years old. Now, side note, they also do have an incredible tight end, Cade Otton, and 2 really solid running backs, which helps. And good news here for their running back room. Rachaad White returned to practice today for the first time since injuring his groin in their first preseason game, so he is trending up. But even with those other options for Baker Mayfield, I still really like the odds of Emeka Egbuka making a quick impact in this offense his rookie year. Tampa drafted him 19th overall, and so far, everything I've heard out of Bucs camp is that he's been really looking the part. Well, they're going to need him to step up and make an impact right away with all these injuries. That's for sure. Another young receiver that's likely headed to IR is Jonathan Mingo. The Cowboys receiver suffered an injury to his PCL last week, and his timeline for a return is looking like about 4 to 6 weeks. So with that said, a move to IR is expected, although he'll be able to return this season. Mingo is heading into his first full season with the Cowboys after they traded for him ahead of the deadline last year. A second-round pick by the Panthers back in 2023, Mingo's career has yet to take off as he has just 60 catches for 585 yards and 0 touchdowns across 2 seasons. He's currently listed as a second-team receiver on the Cowboys' unofficial depth chart behind CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jalen Tolbert, and Kevontae Turpin. And let's actually stay with the Cowboys for a moment here because Adam Schefter appeared on the Pat McAfee show today and made a pretty wild prediction about what's going to happen with the Micah Parsons Cowboys saga. Schefter said that everything is subject to change, but as it currently stands, he feels like the most likely scenario is that Micah plays out the final year of his contract this year, then gets franchise tagged next year, and from there, a trade would get done, and Micah would be on a new team in 2026. Well, that is something. It is just Schefter kind of reading into the situation more than it is him actually reporting anything, okay, just to be clear. But he mentioned that the two sides haven't engaged in contract negotiations since late March, early April. Well, it's also been nearly 3 weeks since Micah requested a trade, and there's been zero movement on a deal getting done. And according to Dallas radio host Mike Leslie, a source close to Micah Parsons told him that Jerry Jones is waiting on Micah and his representation to fold. That doesn't appear to be happening, though, and at this point, I'm curious to see if Micah would be willing to sit out regular season games. If a deal doesn't get reached, he'd be forfeiting game checks, which is why we don't see players pulling that move all that often. Chris Jones did sit out week 1 of the 2023 season, then agreed to a reworked one-year contract before week 2. But again, it's pretty rare. The Cowboys open the season against the Eagles on September 4th, 2 weeks from Thursday, and Micah still hasn't practiced with the team in full. I mean, he is a physical specimen, so maybe that wouldn't even matter, but ideally, you'd like to have him out there getting some reps in with the defense. That's under the assumption that he plans to play, though, which we just don't really know either way for sure right now. I'm fascinated, all in all, to see where this goes, because with Jerry Jones heading things up, you never know what could happen. But hey, make sure to let me know what you think could happen in this situation with Micah Parsons and the Cowboys once all is said and done. Next up, I do want to mention, while we're talking about holdouts and hold-ins, that Steelers defensive lineman Cam Heyward was out there at practice today in pads for the first time since he went public with his contract dispute on August 7th. Cam is after an increase of pay following an impressive All-Pro season in 2024, but the problem is, just last offseason, he agreed to a 3-year, $45 million deal with minimal guarantees. So even though he is coming off a really solid season, he doesn't have much leverage as there's 2 years left on his contract. Now, the Steelers could just do him a solid and give him a raise this year, but I don't think it's going to be anything drastic as Cam is the ripe old age of 36. We'll see what happens, but as a seasoned vet, I think he knows it's best for the team if he's out there practicing and getting in game shape ahead of the season right now. Anyway, that's all I have for you today, so with that, I'll see y'all next time.